It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Sooner or later, we all experience pain and suffering. No one is immune to it. And when those times occur, we have an opportunity to grow and learn valuable lessons. Today's guest, Rabbi Steve Leder, has spent years helping and comforting people in pain. Drawing on his experience as a spiritual leader, the wisdom of traditions, and modern science, he shows us that there is a path that leads from pain to wisdom. Rabbi Steve is a senior rabbi of Wilshire Boulevard Temple, located in Los Angeles, and is the author of the new book, More Beautiful Than Before, How Suffering Transforms Us. Welcome, Rabbi Steve. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm happy you're here because this is something that I hear from so many people when they're going through a difficult situation. And in your book, you wrote, "Pain cracks us open, it breaks us. But in the breaking, there is a new kind of wholeness." A few years ago, I would not have understood those words. It took tremendous loss and pain to put me on a new life path. And while I don't want to go through what I experienced again, I am grateful for every moment because it made me who I am today. So why did you feel the call to write this book? What happened in your life?
I spent 27 years as a rabbi in a very large congregation in Los Angeles, helping people through extremely painful situations. Death, disease, the loss of a reputation, the loss of a marriage, the loss of a business, a child in trouble, depression, anxiety, virtually every sort of challenging situation a human being can endure. I had somehow been vicariously on the inside of through the eyes and lives of the members of my congregation. And I'm talking about not a few dozen times. I'm talking about, literally thousands of times over the years. And I thought I knew a lot about pain, and I thought I was being helpful to people. And then for the first time in my life, I experienced intense, excruciating, I would even say torturous physical pain because of a car accident. I ended up having a very serious problem with my spine, and to the point at which I was practically paralyzed from the waist down for a few months and really could barely move. And when I did, I was in just chronic, unceasing pain. And I realized at that point that I really had no idea in any kind of personal or meaningful way what it meant to suffer physical or emotional pain. And physical and emotional pain are two sides of the same experience. Chronic physical pain can cause emotional distress, and emotional distress can affect our bodies in ways that are very painful. So I don't really differentiate between physical and emotional pain because they're twin siblings in a sense. They're different but identical. So I went through this experience. I eventually had spinal surgery that helped me after a very long and difficult recovery. And a woman in my congregation who at the time was a trustee, when I was recovering from my surgery, said to me, "Well, you broke your back for the congregation." And that just shot through me like a knife. Of course, medically, it wasn't true, but metaphorically, it was true. And that was part of the reason for my depression. I became, very enamored of the opioids that were being prescribed to me by 3 different physicians for my pain, the steroids, etc. And all of this kind of spun down into a cycle of feeling terribly sorry for myself and bitter about the sacrifices I had made for the congregation and the ways in which I had failed to take care of myself in any meaningful way, and how wrong I had been in my counseling to others who were suffering, how incapable I had been at really tuning into the frequency of their pain and their suffering and their fear. So this eventually, with a lot of time and help, changed my perspective on pain, changed the way I approached others in pain, made me, I believe, I wasn't a horrible person before, but I think it did really make me better person and a kinder person and a wiser person and a more sensitive person, frankly, a nicer person, which is kind of where the book title comes from, more beautiful than before, how suffering transforms us. We tend to think as suffering is worthless. And there's a lot to learn from pain and suffering. You, in your introduction, mentioned that really you didn't take a serious look at your life and change it until you had a terribly painful experience. I think what we all know but don't want to really admit is that it's really only pain that forces us to change. Very few people are changed by success, or if they are, they're certainly not changed for the better. Success tends to encourage us to keep doing the same. It's really only pain, the kind of pain that brings us to our knees, that forces us to stop and assess and reconsider and change.
Steve, why do you believe that some people, like you did, like I did, we made, and I always say there's this conscious decision somewhere where you say, I'm at this fork and I'm not going to stay in that self-destructive mode. I'm not going to be the victim. I'm going to go in that other direction. Why do you think some of us make that turn while others remain stuck?
I think to some degree it actually does depend on the intensity of our pain. How far down is the bottom? Every addict who is successfully in recovery will tell you that there has to be a very deep rock bottom that one experiences before making the commitment to change one's life. And, people have different tolerances, thresholds for pain. And all of this, I think, goes back to the, early days of our childhood, how we were parented, what we were taught about pain, and what was expected of us regardless of pain. So I'm not sure what it is for each person because it's individual, but I do know the common denominator is this feeling of unsustainability on the current path. This realization that if I keep going the way I'm going, it is going to either kill me or completely ruin my life. And until one has that kind of revelation, why change?
So Steve, once someone does have that revelation, what is the beginning stage of healing?
Well, let's first talk about the stage that precedes healing. The book is divided into 3 sections. The first is surviving, right? Because if you can't survive the pain, then there's no healing and no growth. So these are the 3 stages as I see it to pain. A, surviving, B, healing, and then C, growing. So first you have to summon within yourself and around you the resources necessary to survive the pain. Are you willing to get help? Are you willing to reach out to others who care and who will gladly help you? Are you willing to summon the internal strength and courage necessary to, as I put in the book, as simple as this sounds, just keep going? Can you put one foot in front of the other? And so first, the first chapter of the book is called When You Must, You Can. That's an old Yiddish expression with a lot of wisdom in it. When you must, you can. First, do you believe in your own inner strength and ability to survive this? I often turn to families going through terribly difficult situations in terms of grief and mourning, someone who's lost the spouse of a lifetime or the death of a child. And the first thing I say to them is, look, the most honest thing I can say to you right now is that it won't always hurt this much. It gets better. It never goes away. It's an absence that's forever present, but it won't always hurt this much. Just keep going. It's going to get better. And that's the first thing, is surviving. Then what are the steps to actually healing? In order to heal, you have to be willing to take a look at the circumstances that got you to whatever that bottom was, whether physical or emotional pain, and decide to change those circumstances. Most people are willing to do that when they're in extreme pain. And that's one of the positive things about pain. It is a great teacher. No matter how reluctant the student, pain will eventually cause people to be willing to change. So, and then it's simply really a look at, with expert help, I really do think, there's a chapter in the book called The Prisoner Cannot Free Himself. The prisoner cannot free himself. No person can get out of his or her own painful situation entirely by him or herself. Have to reach out. You have to reach out to talented therapists. You have to reach out to the people who love you. You have to reach out to your friends. You have to reach out to resources around you, like this wonderful show of yours, Joan. You've got to accept the fact that you are only one human being and you can only do so much, even for yourself. And that reaching out is not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of strength. And yes, you will be disappointed when you reach out to others for help. Some people will disappoint you. I say something in the book quite facile, sounds very facile, but it's also important and true, that when you're in serious trouble of any kind, you have to reach out. And the people who really matter won't mind. They won't mind you reaching out. They'll want to be there to help you. And the people who mind really don't matter. Mm-hmm. One of the things that pain does is it clears away a lot of the clutter and underbrush in your life and in your relationships. And you really learn who your friends are and who your friends are not. And that is a very powerful experience in and of itself. Learning that there are people who care, who do love you, who do want to help you. And sometimes you'll be surprised by who these people are. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of material in the book about the helping side of this, what to do when a friend, a loved one, is in pain and needs you. The other side of the coin, though, what do we do when we are the source of another's pain, when we have caused pain, not been the victim of it, but been the source or cause of pain? What do you do when you are the betrayer, not the betrayed? That's a whole nother area of pain and dysfunction and emptiness that should and can, be addressed.
Steve, what's something that we can do when we are the source of someone else's pain?
The first thing is to summon the courage to utter one of the most difficult sentences for any human being to say. And it's so simple. It's just 3 words. I was wrong. I was wrong can change everything. It takes the sting out. It makes a different future possible. It's much more powerful than I'm sorry. I was wrong is a much higher degree of culpability and responsibility than I'm sorry. So the question is, can you own the pain that you've caused to another human being to the degree that you are able to look that person in the eye and say, I was wrong? And then, of course, to go through the important stages that can bring you back, in a sense, to a whole relationship with that person. First of all, yes, I was wrong. Admit it. A religious person would say, confess the mistake, the sin, the transgression. Own it. I was wrong. And say it out loud. And secondly, change your behavior. Really commit never to do that again, whatever that is. Really change your behavior. Stop whatever it is that you were doing, or start doing whatever it is you failed to do. Admit it, own it, stop it, and of course, ask for forgiveness. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I've owned this. I am responsible for it. I have changed. Please forgive me. And that is a kind of ancient and magical formula for creating a new sense of wholeness in our relationships. And I don't think any marriage or family can survive in any loving and meaningful way without going through these steps. Because to be human is to err.
The book is More Beautiful Than Before, How Suffering Transforms Us by Steve Leder. If you would like to get more information about Steve and his work or the book, you can visit the website wbtla.org. Steve, in about 30 seconds or less, what's the takeaway?
The takeaway is that every one of us, sooner or later, experiences some form of tremendous pain. The pain of being hurt, the pain of hurting another, the pain of cancer, the pain of death, the pain of divorce, a kid in trouble, addiction, stress, aging. We all experience pain. The point is not to come through that pain empty-handed. The point is to find a way for that pain to enable us to lead a more beautiful life, a life that's worthy of our suffering.
Rabbi Steve, thank you so much for being here with us and for talking about the importance of finding the blessings in every situation. When you do get to that fork in the road, and I speak from personal experience, it can transform you. It can change every aspect of your life, and it really gives you the wisdom to move forward. So thank you for this important reminder and for sharing your message with us.
Thank you, Joan. I really appreciated the opportunity to speak with you today.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Stay with us. We'll be right back. joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided are the opinions of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, CYACYL.com. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read our digital magazine, take part in the book club, check out our team, and be sure to follow the show on social media. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.